Do you want to get rich? Do you want to get wealthy with the rental properties? Well, I have a lot to share because there is a lot of money that you can make with rental properties, but you got to know what you're doing. So let's go. So this is the video that you have been waiting for. I'm going to give you the step-by-step on how to get rental properties in order to build your wealth. And two, I'm going to share with you how to do it starting from zero. So let's talk about what wealth is, because that is so important. Because like I said, do you want to get rich or do you want to get wealthy? So many people don't even actually know the difference. And the fun part is you create the definition. So when we talk about rich, we basically are talking about money that you have where you don't have to work, where your expenses cover all of your bills, okay? And for some, that is enough. And I actually don't really have any qualms about if you just want to get rich. But how I separate the rich from the wealthy is you're probably not going to lose your money in your lifetime if you create wealth. And that is what we were talking about in this video today. So let's talk about how you can create enough money where you do have all of the things that you have that a rich person has, where you have enough money to cover all of your expenses and you don't have to work, but also where that money is going to continue on, where you are truly wealthy and you will be able to pass some of this money and some of these assets down to other people in your family. So let's get into how I created wealth with real estate. So before I actually created wealth with real estate, I actually just created some riches with real estate. So let's kind of take you back. So I was working a full-time job. Like I told you guys before, I was a working mom, had a corporate job. I absolutely hated my job. But when I got invested in real estate the second time, I was a mess, okay? So I invested in real estate the first time in like 2004 and 2005. And I had a job, but I was fixing and flipping houses in Atlanta and I was making a ton of money. Well, along comes 2007, 2008, and everything crashed. And I ended up back in my parents' basement, married with kids, no money, bankrupt, in terrible credit. So real estate had pretty much kicked my behind. So how did I bounce back from that? Let me tell you. Well, I found this coach that taught me about wholesaling, okay? And this is the beginning. And this is what I want to teach you guys, because we're going to start with some of these things and we're going to build, and I'm going to tell you how to quickly do this and how I have students that are doing this in like a year, okay? And they're quitting their jobs, they're making tons of money, and they are on the path to building generational wealth. So one of the things that I did, of course, was I started with wholesaling. But the key to that was not the wholesaling. It was finding people with property problems, people that were in foreclosure, people that were in divorce, they were in bankruptcy, they had inherited houses they didn't want, they were being relocated, just a myriad of different things that was going on. And they were motivated. They were in a position where they were trying to sell their house really quickly. And I was able to get those people under contract and then flip those contracts to other people and make $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 per deal. Then I took that money and then I started fixing and flipping. And then I started making, you can look this up. The average fix and flip in America for last year, and you can look this up on Realty Track, the average profit was over $65,000, okay? So think about this for a second. If you can start getting checks worth $65,000, there's a lot that you can do with it to, one, get rich, and two, build wealth. So I started reinvesting that money. I started with wholesaling, flipping contracts, and I started flipping houses. But then I got to the real money, which is how I was able to quit my job. I started keeping some of those properties that I was fixing and flipping, and I started just putting tenants in those properties. So I was finding off-market properties. I was getting them at really good prices. I was fixing and flipping them. So I was fixing them and repairing them like an investor. I wasn't doing really expensive stuff. I was really systematic in how I did it. And I was going to either sell the property or I would put a tenant in the property. Well, after I started fixing and flipping and getting those checks, I started fixing and flipping to put a tenant in there. So what I was able to do was save money on the renovation. I started to realize I did not have to fix and flip the property up to the standard to sell it. I could put some lower items in there and put a tenant in the property and start getting some passive income. Ding! So now that I have this passive income coming in, I was able to just keep repeating this, and after a while, I was able to quit my job. I had enough rental properties and enough tenants in my properties where I was able to wholesale a property if I wanted to. I was able to fix and flip a property if I wanted to. But more importantly, I had kept some of those properties, put tenants in them, and I had passive income coming in each month. So then I was able to quit my job and I was free. But then I took it to the next level, and this is what I'm going to teach you, because that's what you do. It's called strategic deal compounding, where you may start off with one of those smaller strategies and build your portfolio. So let's go how you do it. And this is so easy, and I'm going to get close because you guys need to hear this. The first thing that you do is you just market to people that have a property problem. So I would find people that were in foreclosure, okay? Just using that as an example. And again, I've told you a million different ways of people that are having problems. And let's just use foreclosure, for example. I would find them. I would get them under contract. They would say they needed to get out of the property because they were behind on the payments. In many cases, I was able to get their properties for just the amount that they were past due on their mortgage. So I'll give you an example. Say they were past due on their mortgage 4 months and the payments on the mortgage were $2,000. I literally was getting people to sell me that property for $8,000. Essentially, because what I would do is I would catch the mortgage up, pay the $8,000 at the closing, and then we would do what was called a subject to. I would buy the house subject to the existing mortgage that was on the home. Okay, so we catch that mortgage up. Remember, they were behind 4 months in the example that I gave you. I pay the $8,000 to catch that mortgage up. I buy the house. Now that mortgage is all caught up, and those people, they move out of the property, and now that's my house. Now you're thinking, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, that works. Remember, they were in foreclosure. They were going to lose that house. And what I was able to do was improve their credit by paying that mortgage and catching it up for them and helping them move to somewhere that was more affordable for them. And in return, I got a property, okay, with a really good mortgage on it usually. And so then what I was able to do was just, a lot of times the house didn't need any repairs. Sometimes I would repair it if it needed repairs, use my business line of credit. Or if it needed no repairs, just some paint and some carpet, clean it up, and then put a tenant in it and start making money, okay? And a lot of times they would have a mortgage. Like I said in the example, their mortgage was, say it was $2,000 per month. I find somebody to rent it for $2,500 a month, and the difference is mine. Additionally, I don't have a mortgage in my name. The mortgage is in that other person's name. So I was able to do that several times. You just rinse and repeat this thing. It's so easy to do, guys. If you need help with it, remember, you can always reach out to my team. 888-479-4542 is our phone number. But just going back, you could easily do this. I just rinsed and repeated this thing. And after a while, I had a whole bunch of houses, okay? I had a whole bunch of houses subject to, and then I flipped those over to what's called a blanket mortgage. I'm telling you what that is. A blanket mortgage is a mortgage that has multiple properties under, again, one blanket. So say, for example, the example I gave you, I was accumulating all of these properties. I was able to then refinance them into one blanket mortgage, several houses, 5, 10, 20 houses in this one mortgage. And then the bank would give me a line of credit. And then I was able to go get even more properties. So just giving you an example, let's just say I had 5 properties and I got this blanket mortgage, and it was, let's just say each house, 5 houses. Let's say each house was $200,000. Okay. So that's $1 million. Well, they would give me like $500,000 in a line of credit that against those, against the equity on those houses. And then I could go get more properties. So you just build and build and build. And this is all of the same stuff, from Rich Dad, Poor Dad that they teach you, Robert Kiyosaki and Grant Cardone and some of these other people. This is the same strategy. I'm just telling you how to do it better. These are things that you can do right now so that you can build wealth fast. And then last but not least, because you've gotten all these properties, you have them in this blanket mortgage, you now can get a line of credit, again, all in your business's name. Or in your personal name. It really just depends, but they will lend just on the property. Again, if you have questions about this, I've given you our phone number. You totally can reach out to us, 888-479-4542. We would love to help you guys get deals. But the last thing that I did to boost my level, where I can truly say we are wealthy now, is I created complementary businesses. So yes, you have the income coming from your rental properties. That's one. Then two, some of the properties, I did not put long-term tenants in. So some of the tenants are there for a year, 2 years. Some of them are doing lease purchases with us where they're buying the house from us and they've given us some pretty big down payments. And then last but not least, I created complementary businesses. Okay, so you have properties, you have someone that needs to cut the grass, you have someone that needs to paint. I started investing and buying in other people's businesses that had those businesses, and then they would feed me more money. And so not only do I own properties, I also now own other people's businesses, and I have several businesses, all from real estate. And that's the key to wealth. Okay, so there you have it. So at this time, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you to go ahead and like this video. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Make sure you click that little notification bell. So much information. I want you to be wealthy. I actually even have a free gift for you. If you go below, you can get my book for free, Grow Your Wealth, How to Go From Zero to Rich, Investing in Real Estate, starting from zero, which is what I want you to do, which many of you are starting from zero. Some of you aren't starting from zero. Shoot, I think I was starting from -0. But go ahead, click below, get that book for free. And all you have to do is pay for shipping, and I'll ship that right to you. Talk to you later.